Okay, so you're all very welcome to our Acres West Connacht. So this is our Advisor and Farmer NPI webinar. So we'll also just kind of give you an update on what we've been doing for the summer. And then we're going to go through, Liz is going to give you a brief presentation on the local action plan, and Donal is going to go through some of the NPIs and the screening process with you. There we go. Okay, so we're going to give you, as I said, summer 23 update, an update on the commonages, the local action plan and what the screening for NPIs are, and then the NPIs, just some examples of the actions and reasons for potential rejection of plans as well, just so you guys have an idea of it as we're going through. So just in terms of the project team and the role of the team, it's providing local advice and support, training of the farmers and the advisors, scoring the commonages, and providing guidance and screening on the non-productive investment and the landscape actions. So we have 7 commonage surveyors who've been out since April to score the commonages, and then we have a core team of 10 project officers who work in the local areas, and they liaise with yourselves and the farmers. They liaise with yourselves and the farmers to for training the NPIs and any kind of guidance or support that you guys need. So just in terms of benefits of the cooperation model, just to refresh your mind on that, so support to farmers provided by the local team. Farmers and advisors can develop specialist supports and training. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. So it's local solutions to local problems. So you'll see that in the presentations on the NPIs as well. It's about the right measure in the right place. So it's not about just putting in an action for the sake of having it in. You're looking at, is there an issue on the farm and what the farmer can do to solve that. So that's what we're looking at going forward. And then it's an opportunity to contribute to improving the local environment as well. So it rewards and incentivises delivery of positive environmental action. There is 3,500 per year for NPIs and landscape actions, and a potential of 7,000 per year in a results-based payment as well. So just in terms of the staff training and CPD, so all of our staff have been trained in mountain skills. We've all done their remote emergency care training, Law Pro water quality training programs. 2 of our staff have completed the catchment science management course. We've done in-house training on the admin of results-based payment schemes, how they function, their operation. We've all completed the EPA Law Pro catchment waters program. 3 of our staff have done drone survey training, and the freshwater pearl mussel monitoring stage 1 to 4. So Liz, who's our project ecologist, has completed that training. And then each Friday we have guest lectures and a discussion group for all of the team as well. So we bring in speakers like things that we feel we need to improve on to be able to advise you guys and the farmers properly. So we've had training in rhododendron control. We've had a farmer come in and speak to us about the no fence collars and how they work, so that we can give correct advice to farmers when they're looking at these kind of measures. We have had geologists in, we've had water quality experts in, so we're continuing to work on that. We've a peatland restoration speaker come in to speak to us. So it's all about upskilling and making sure that we have as much information and advice that we can then pass on to you guys and the farmers as needed. In terms of farmer communications and engagement, so this time last year we were just starting out. We just built our team, and Acres was just starting. So we did 18 information meetings over 3 weeks. We met about 1,000 farmers, just discussing what Acres was, the role of the CP team, and how farmers could apply for that. During that time, we gave out questionnaires to all of the farmers as well, just to kind of get an understanding of where they were at and their attitudes and understanding of the agri-environment schemes and where they felt it was going. So we had 440 return questionnaires there, and that gives a baseline for knowing where farmers are at and how we can work with them to build on that for the next 5 years. We developed and sent out a leaflet on results-based payment schemes to all the 5,000 farmers within the CP area. We also had an invitation on that to all of the information events that we were running in their local areas over the summer months, and they could either ring the office or log in through Eventbrite to sign up to one of those information events. So over the 2-month period of May and June, we done 72 information events. There were 3-hour events, and we held 2 per day. And we had approximately 500 farmers who attended. So it was an opportunity to have to get away quite quickly for some agent. Sorry, do people just want to maybe make sure they're on mute? There's just a lot of feedback there. An opportunity to meet the team and learn about Acres CP. So as I said, we had approximately 500 farmers who attended, which, considering it was an unpaid event, we felt was a good turnout, and it just gave them a little bit of information about what you guys would be doing over the summer when you were out scoring, so they had a bit of a better understanding of it. So then in terms of advisor communications and engagement, in March 23, we had an advisor webinar just introducing the team and what our role is and what to expect over the coming months. We held 12 advisor training courses, which was a mix of indoor and field training on how to explore. We then had an additional 4 specialist scorecard training courses. These were locally relevant targets, so you had your breed and weed, your corn break, your coastal scorecard. These were optional, so it was up to the advisors themselves if they wanted to attend, or if they wanted for the team to come out with them separately on a farm to go through the scorecards with them. So to date, we've presented at 100 of your farmer training courses. We have another 30 booked in, and you guys are ringing most days to book in more, which is brilliant, and we appreciate the opportunity to engage with yourselves and the farmers at these events. So we appreciate you guys inviting us along and allowing us to do that. We have 120 advisors in the WhatsApp group, so we find that useful for communicating with you guys, and we hope you do too. And make sure you're utilising it over the next few weeks as well with the NPIs. We have ongoing contact with the central person in ACE and Teagasc, and that's through the Department of Agriculture, who hold a monthly meeting with all the CP teams and the representatives from Teagasc and ACE to kind of make sure that we're all up to date on what's happening and any issues that are occurring. We've presented at Pearl Mussel farmer training events, so that's just to introduce ourselves again to the farmers in the Pearl Mussel project and let them know who's going to be taking over and how Acres will work in kind of as a follow-on from the Pearl Mussel project. So to date, we've engaged with 60% of West Connacht participants through all of these measures. So we're quite happy with that, considering our target for this year was 10% of participants. We're delighted to be able to engage with so many. And again, like I said, it's thanks to you guys inviting us to your courses that we've been able to have that engagement with you guys and with the farmers. So then, just in terms of the commonages, we sent out a text message last week to all the farmers because we're getting a lot of queries about farmers wanting to know their scores. Now, we did explain during the summer, and we explained to you guys that we aren't going to be giving out individual scores to shareholders. It is going to be done in a group setting. What we're working on at the minute is we have some of our team are working on verifying all of the scores that have been done. So they're going through the scores, they're checking it against the route that the surveyor would have walked, they're checking it against the data that has been submitted, and making sure that they're, as I said before, it's submitted to the department for payment. So we have 170,000 hectares within the CP zone and another 13,000 outside the CP zone that have been walked. And as I said, the priority now is getting those submitted to the department so the farmers get paid. We hope to be meeting farmers in January to go through the scorecards with them. We'll go through the scoring with them, go through issues might be, and then we will recommend actions that they might take to help improve the score, but it will be up to the shareholders themselves how much they engage with us or what they decide to do in terms of any actions that they want to do on their commonages. So in terms of the project workflow for the commonages, we had pre-survey evaluations. We've done the survey and data gathering. We're at the verification stage at the minute and submission of all the scores to the department for payment for the farmers. So in terms of how we've done the commonages, all the commonage surveyors and the project officers worked in teams of 2 or 3, depending on who was available in certain areas. We mixed personnel from teams, so we didn't keep the same two people together all the time to make sure that we had a standardized approach. We had calibration day where the whole team got together and went out and scored commonage and made sure that we all, were on the same page in terms of how we done the scoring and that each section of it that we understood it the same way and we scored it the same way. We've made clarification to the guidance document and all of the team have those available to them the same as yourselves, the scorecard guidance. And we had a workshop on grazing and the management of that as well throughout the summer. So in terms of additional work areas then, we have a series of videos completed. They're currently being put together for us and we'll have those available in the next couple of months. So we focused on water quality, peatland restoration, how the scorecards work, and just in terms of the CP area, why farmers are in the CP area, what results-based payments are, the questions that we're constantly getting off farmers. So those will be available in the next couple of months on our website, and they'll be a useful resource for your training or when you're meeting with farmers as well. So we have our project officers have identified pilot farmers in each of the local areas, and they are currently working on a plan with those farmers for actions that we can trial out. So as soon as the landscape action portal opens next spring, we will be in a position to put those plans in place and work with those farmers and yourselves to get those actions up and running so that we can show the farmers and have these areas that are available for bringing farmer groups to, if needs be, to show them certain actions on the ground. We're currently developing farmer management guidance. So again, this has all been led by feedback that we've got from yourselves and from the farmers at the information events on what exactly they're looking for and the most frequently asked questions. So we're developing grassland and peatland management guidance at the minute, and again, that will be for the end of the year on our We're developing a schools outreach programme. So some of the team are currently working on materials, and we have contacted schools in all the areas to see if they're interested in having visits from us next spring to go through the scorecards and what the CP area is about. So we have a list of schools that we'll be targeting next spring to do those sessions on. And that's just an example of some of the materials that we'll have for the schools available as well. So then just in terms of the NPIs, Liz and Donald is going to go through this in detail, but just you will see on the first page of the specification, there's a list of the NPIs, and then there's a list of, beside that, whether it can be selected on your CP or non-CP or both. So just when you are, it's a handy kind of guide to have beside you when you're selecting actions with the farmer or talking to your actions with the farmers, just be aware of where it's available on.
Everyone back there.
And then just this was one of the questions that we got asked in the farmer training group. Meet a couple of people here. So this is just one of the questions that we got asked at a farmer meeting last week, was just in terms of timeframes for sensitive actions. So you'll see on page 8 of the specification that there is a list there of time sensitive NPIs and the dates that they're approved, and then how long you have to get those done or to withdraw them from your annual works plan if you don't wish to go ahead with them any longer. So that's there on page 8 of your specification. So just if you are getting questions from farmers about particular actions, that's where that is. And then just some key points of the NPI application process. as I said, and you'll hear it from Liz and Donal as well, the right measure in the right place is what we're looking at now. The actions are paid for 1 year only. So this is something that's come up a few times as well in the last week. So it's not like in glass where you put up bird boxes and then you got paid for 5 years for those bird boxes. You put up the bird boxes, you get paid for them, and then the following year you apply for another different actions or more of the same actions. But each annual works plan and each payment session is for 1 year only. Focus on addressing low scores from the scorecards first, if at all possible. And scoring can be carried out in year 2 and year 5. So if you wish to kind of manage your workload, or if your farmers are asking, can they be scored again next year? Just that will be done through selecting a box on your BIS application next year for them to say that you're going to score them in year 2. So just to be aware of that too. So all of our information is there. I think most of you have all of our contact details at this stage. Our website is there and we're updating it, as I said, with all of those new resources over the coming weeks. We're on social media, and all of our individual local staff info is there under project team as well if you want to contact someone directly. So that's it from me. I'm going to hand you over to Liz, and she's going to go through the local action plan and the NPI screening.
Now, can everybody see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And is the sound okay before we start?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly, Liz, yeah.
Okay. That's great. So hello, or good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Liz Ryder, and I'm the project ecologist here with Acres West Connacht. I'm going to give you an overview of the local action plan that we've been developing in the last year, and just to give a brief outline of NPI screening and the process behind it. So as you all know, this is West Connacht CP local area. We're split into 6 individual CP zones. So you have Erith, Acklenafen, Ox Mountains, Lough Cong, and then down in South Mayo, Connemara area, with North Connemara, Erith, Carbmask, and Connemara Haas. And we're working directly with approximately 5,000 farmers. We've 2 project offices, one based in Balmullet and our other offices in Westport. So the local action plan, there's been a lot of work put into the local action plan over the last, from September 2022 until, I suppose it's a ever evolving document, but a lot of work has gone into it, and we submitted a draft to the department in June of this year. And it gives a review of the key characteristics and integration of the CP, Acres CP project. It gives an overview of the results-based payment, scorecard guidance, and scorecard assignments. It gives full details and a description of the West Connacht Cooperation Project area. And it outlines the objectives for each CP zone with clear definition of the ecological aims based on robust data. And then it looks at management options, so implementation of NPI landscape actions. The department have got back to us recently, and they've asked all the CP teams to generate a summary or an executive summary of this local action plan, and that's due in November. So once those are released, we'll make them available on our website. So the next stage for us then is, the next step is stakeholder engagement on the local action plan. And that's planned for the coming months. That we hope to work directly with farmers and farmer advisors in these locally led approaches to further inform the local action plan and to further inform our management within these areas. And we also will seek expert advice and consultation with other stakeholders to implement and target the right measure in the right place. So this is just a quick overview of what's some of the CP zone descriptions. An example here is ERF. We would have looked at you know, a lot of mapping exercises looking at bedrock, aquifers, groundwater vulnerability, the soil, and then obviously the land use. Looked at the farming within each of the CP zones. You know, we're dealing with small to medium-sized farms, high nature value, farming in designated areas, commonages, coastal farms, island farms, and organic farms. And then private and commonage land area within the CP zone. And as Mary has already pointed out, we've a huge amount of commonage here in West Connacht, and approximately or more than 180,000 hectares of CP and non-CP commonages were surveyed in 2023. So I just go through some of the designated sites, and you can see from the map that the majority of the West Connacht area is actually under designation, or about 60% of the area is designated land. So we have 65 special areas of conservation. We have 26 special protected areas, which are for the birds, and then 20 natural heritage areas, which are predominantly on peatland. And as I said, you can see the brown color is highlighting the commonage areas and the peatland areas that are protected, that are under designation. The yellow there on the map is emphasizing Machair, Bays and Salt Marsh regions. And then any of the blue areas are highlighting the rivers and lakes, surface water that are all designated. And the smaller pockets then of woodland and limestones, caves that you can't see at this resolution, but they're there as well. So this is what we're protecting: peatland heaths, heathlands, Machair dune system, oligotrophic lakes, and species-rich grasslands. Within the special areas protected areas, there were 70 bird species listed in West Connacht, and of those that are protected, and of those our project officers would have done a lot of work on this. There was 12 species that were unlikely to be directly affected by agricultural habitat. They're marine species, and 23 species had overlap with some part of their life cycle and with terrestrial agriculture habitats, and then 33 have a clear link with grassland habitats. So this is all distribution then, and I know some of you potentially had some of these scorecards and we're going, why is this scorecard selected for this area? So this is the data behind it, is the breeding weight or hotspot data. So you can see that a lot of coastal sites down around Corrib Mask. And just to explain that the reason those scorecards were selected is because they were within hotspot zones. You know, we weren't, there was data behind to justify the assignment of that scorecard. And then similar to Corncrake sites, again, the scorecard was selected on existing Corncrake sites within these areas, these SPA areas, and then some areas outside the SPAs there in Louisburg. And again, the rough grazing scorecards are the Hin Harrier winter areas. That's why those scorecards were selected within those areas, and they're probably more scrubby sites, kind of transitional woodland areas that they would have been selected on. And again, this is the list of species that are the qualifying interest that we will be trying to protect using the scorecards. So freshwater pearl mussels, all the salmonid habitats, chough, breeding waders, corncrake and hen harriers. And then other considerations which will affect some of the NPI and the landscape actions is the vast area that we have of archaeological monuments and heritage within our landscape. The vast majority of these sites are under private ownerships. In total, in West Connacht, we have 4,076 zones with archaeological monuments. And then hydrology. So there are 12 water catchments, there's 76 subcatchments currently in West Connacht under the CP zone. and that incorporates 217 lakes and 314 rivers. And I'd say this is actually even more now that we've taken in more commonage areas, and then obviously tranche 2, these numbers will change with the addition of farmers in tranche 2. And Water Framework Directive, the rivers and lakes at risk of not achieving Water Framework Directive good or high ecological status. This is the current list that we have from the data available from the EPA. There's a new report due out, hopefully next year. So this data is up until 2018. But these are the rivers and lakes that are listed within our West Connacht CP zone with a direct impact from agriculture. So we've removed any of the areas that would, for domestic wastewater or industrial. These are just directly linked with agriculture issues within these. And then drinking water zones. So huge, large areas, carved mask are known drinking water zones, and then group water schemes are outlined in black there as well. So ranking regional priorities, it's very difficult to rank, what's more important priority within these areas. Is it climate? Is it habitat? Is it water? Is it biodiversity? So that's why we believe that ranking priorities at a local level and looking at habitats, the designation, ongoing engagement with farmers and advisors and other stakeholders to support this and to help us implement management options that will increase the field scores through NPIs and landscape actions and protect the surrounding habitats as well. So select the right NPI to support the farmer to farm and to protect the habitat, water quality and species that thrive in these local areas. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of non-productive investments. So the advisors apply for non-productive investment annual works plan, and every NPI is drawn on GLAMS. It will have a unique ID number and an abbreviation. So GLAMS may reject NPIs, and as Mary has already mentioned, is that there is a list of, CP land only, non-CP land only. There's a list of restrictions for individual NPIs. And then upon submission, all NPIs will go through a screening process to ensure that it can be delivered at minimal risk to habitat and species within these really sensitive areas. So the screening of all the screens, its overlap. It also looks at spatial features, the OSI line, archaeology, the slope, whether motorway or woodlands are nearby, the site designations, and then it also goes back to the local action plan objectives, and then the scorecard data, which you have gathered over the last few months. And reasons for rejection is that the action may not be suitable for that habitat. For example, here on the Macaire or on a peatland site, wild bird cover strips are not suitable, winter stubble, small woodlands, etc., etc. And then there's a list of excluded habitats as well that there'd be no NPIs delivered on. Selecting the right NPI. For example, here, Breed and Wader. So the parcels are closed from the 15th of March to the 30th of June. So there won't be any wild bird cover, stubble, small woodlands allowed on any known Breed and Wader sites or with the Breed and Wader scorecard. And similar then within the Hin Harrier winter areas, as I mentioned earlier, is that it's kind of rough transitional woodland habitat. So bracken management or scrub removal will be rejected within these areas. But we'll be encouraging farmers to look at riparian margins and to create wildlife corridors and connectivity within these sites, and potentially then focus on farmyard biodiversity as well. So that's all for me. I'm going to pass it over to Donal now to go through some of the other NPIs that are available.
Thanks, Liz. Hi, everyone. Hope you're well. Can you all see that there?
Yeah.
Perfect. So how is everyone? So my name is Donald Folan. I'm one of the project officers here at Acres West Connacht, the CP team. And I'm just going to take you through a brief presentation on non-productive investments, just run you through the screening process, and I suppose just give a couple examples that can be implemented. So what are non-productive investments? They're actions at farm level which should help increase the field score. They directly contribute to biodiversity on the farm. So they're standalone actions, they're small scale, and they're to be carried out as part of an acres for the participants' annual work plan. And they also generate additional farm income. So the NPI categories, I've been categorized here in 4 sections. So you have habitat creation, you have water quality, farm infrastructure, and you have wildlife support. And I'll take you through a couple of examples of each just to give you a better understanding. So non-productive investments, the farmer can receive payments through this acre scheme from various places. The results-based payment is their core payment, and that can add up to 7,000 per year, and they can get additional 3,500 from NPIs and landscape actions. So from actions alone, a farmer can receive up to 17,500 over the 5-year scheme. So how to apply for NPIs? Firstly, the scorecard will be reviewed, and for whatever reason, a farmer doesn't receive a high score on their commonage or grassland, the advisor is there to discuss appropriate NPIs with the farmers, and for whatever actions they would like to implement, these actions will have to be drawn up by the acres advisor to create an annual works plan, and this is done through GLAMS, which is a mapping system that is on the department's website. The CP teams will have read-only access on GLAMS, but are available to provide additional advice on NPIs to advisor prior to submission. And CP team will screen proposed actions. The CP team will also be meeting up with farmers to discuss any actions and any questions they will have on actions for the next growing season. So the first section I'm going to take you through the NPI is habitats creation. So this can be done through various actions. So this can be done to protect water. So you could have examples such as riparian margins, solar pumps, pasture pumps. And then if a farmer would like to protect any waders that they would have on their land, you can implement wader scrapes. And you could also implement wild bird cover and plot strips. First NPI I'll take you through is planting new hedgerows and hedge rejuvenation. So this action can be done on CP and non-CP land. It is mainly for damaged or mismanaged hedgerows. It can promote biodiversity, improve hedgerow structure, and improve the landscape's aesthetic appeal. This is available on all scorecards except scrub woodland breeding waders, and is not available on the peatland. It is required that 10 meters is planted. This is also a great way to stock-proof your land, and it also provides shelter for livestock. This can also provide nesting habitats for bird species. Following on from my previous slide, this is another example of planting a new hedgerow. New hedgerows, these actions are unavailable adjacent to archaeological monuments, so there must be a 30-meter buffer. And as they're not available either on a field boundary unless the farmer has control and access to both sides, which can be displayed in the above slide. And the next NPI I'd like to discuss is planting trees. So these are available on CP and on non-CP parcels. The minimum required of trees has to be done is 3, and each point on GLAM represents 3 trees. Planting trees can sequester carbon dioxide, and it can also decrease the chances of soil erosion. This again can provide shelter and shading for livestock and for nesting birds. These planting trees NPIs are available on the following scorecards: grasslands, rough grazing, peatland, and scrub woodland. And the next MPI I'll discuss is water quality. This is a big one that we're trying to emphasize to get correct for the farmers, because there's a lot of scores that can be adjusted, and the farmer can receive a good payment if it is done correctly. So this is an example of the risk to the water quality question on the grassland scorecard. The question assesses the risk to the quality of natural water bodies. I have two examples up here. As you can see on the left-hand side, there is a riparian margin, or in other words, just a fence. This would stop the livestock and anything entering the water quality. So this would result in a 0 score on the scorecard, as there is no damage, there's no poaching, or there's no pollutants entering the water body. And on the other side of the spectrum, on the right-hand side, you can see what a bad score on this question would result in. So this would result in high risk to water quality, and will receive approximately -25 marks. And you could assume that the livestock are using this as a water source, and you can see the damage that it is causing to the surrounding area. There's a lot of bare soil, and there's most likely pollutants into the water, which can also lead to eutrophication. So if a farmer, like I showed in the previous slide, receives a bad score on the water quality question, here are a few actions they can implement on their farm. So they can implement a riparian margin, and you can see two examples here. So what a riparian margin does is it protects the water quality, as the livestock cannot enter the river, and it also reduces the loss of sediment. And also, the riparian margins are not just for the OSI waterline. These can be applied to any water body that has an identified risk according to the scorecard. So these would be small streams, drains, rivers, lakes, or ponds. And for a farmer to implement riparian margin, there needs to be a risk for it to be approved. And if a farmer implements a riparian margin, they will then need to be able to have water access for their livestock. And there's two examples here. You can implement a pasture pump or a solar pump. These are great ways to have water available for your livestock and protect the water bodies. They provide an alternative drinking point, and reduces the risk of poaching near any water bodies. So the next section I'll take you through on the MPIs is the farm infrastructure. And these can be done through various ways. These are more practical tasks on the farm, and you can see a couple of examples there. So another example of a scorecard another question on the scorecard is the field boundary quality. So another MPI that would be very popular with farmers over the next while would be repair of traditional stone walls, as this question has its own question on the scorecard. So here I have two examples. On the left-hand side, you can see an intact stone wall that would not require any repair. And on the right-hand side, you can see a stone wall that is completely knocked over, which would qualify for this action. This is a stone wall that was seen on Clare Island by one of our project officers. And just to emphasize, this action is to be targeted at stone walls that have fallen into disrepair, and not for the maintenance of fully intact stone walls. Stone walls are very important to the cultural heritage in this country. They enhance the visual landscape, and they also stop-proof any fields. They are natural corridors also for any insects. Another MPI that is available to farmers that has any risk to water quality are culverts. These again are easy actions that can be implemented. They provide a safe crossing area on a drain, and again, they prevent any sediment entering the water. This can be implemented on any of the scorecards, and it is for drains only. And the next section on the MPIs is wildlife support. So, like I mentioned, these are very important to make sure that our protected species have the chance to survive. Example of this is wader scrapes on known wader sites, to implement good farmyard biodiversity, so nest boxes, barn owls, kestrel nest box, or swallow nest box. And another example is rodenticide-free rodent control. And another important NPI is the bracken management trimming. This will be a very important one as I come a lot of bracken when we were surveying over the last couple of months. There's also a question on this on the scorecard. The priority for this NPI is to stop the expansion of bracken in a high nature value grassland or dry heaths. Also ensure to avoid steep slopes and riparian areas, as this prevents nutrients going into water bodies. The areas selected must be trimmed twice in the calendar year. It's important also to note that no bracken management recommended on rough grazing scorecards or hen harrier winter areas. It's important to control the extent of bracken as it can create a loss of habitats, and also you can also lose out on grazing land. Bracken can also be poisonous to livestock, and it's also a refuge for ticks, which can lead to Lyme disease. The next NPI I'd like to discuss is wader scrapes. These can be implemented on CP parcels only and in known breeding wader sites. So the minimum size is 48 meters squared, the maximum area 225 meters squared, and the max depth is 50 centimeters. These are very important for our breeding waders as it is an opportunity for them to feed by creating small shallow pools. Also, don't locate these within 30 meters of a hedgerow. And the final one I'd like to discuss is rodenticide-free rodent control. This is available on CP and non-CP parcels. The minimum that must be applied is 1 unit. It's available on the following scorecards: grassland, rough grazing, peatland, coastal, low input peat grassland. These can be used to encourage barn owl nests, as they can reduce secondary poisoning to protected species such as the barn owl, kestrel, and the hen harrier. As Mary and Liz mentioned, we're really trying to emphasize putting the right action into the right place. So screening of all proposed NPIs will provide extra protection. The local CP teams will carry out the screening. No action is approved until it is approved on GLAMS and the annual works plan issued. Works must have a clear benefit for biodiversity, water quality, climate, and/or cultural heritage. Areas where these may not be accepted. So NPIs will not be accepted near archaeological monuments or ground disturbances involved, for example, wader scrapes or culverts, or anywhere near watercourses or drains, particularly actions that would involve the removal of vegetation, such as wild bird cover, or near motorways or railways. For instance, barn owl or the bat box, there must be a minimum 500-meter distance. So just to give you a summary on how to apply for these NPIs, application and screening is done through GLAMS. Then you use GLAMS to create an NPI annual works plan. And the advisor will draw up any actions appropriate. These can be done to a point, linear, or area, and if necessary, consult the CP team. Then to save and submit, and CP team will screen all actions. And if you have any further questions, please do get in touch. All our information is on the Acres West Connacht website with all the project officers' emails and phone numbers. So please do get in touch. Thank you very much. We'll take any questions you have now.
Thanks, Liz and Donal. Has anybody got any questions? I see just one came in on the chat there. Just wondering, did we have a separate NPI list to the department? And the answer is no, it's just the one NPI list that's available. The department haven't given a deadline date for the submission of NPIs yet. Most likely we're thinking it'll probably be the first or second week in December. But as far as I know, the submission button isn't even live for the NPIs yet. So I think once that goes live, they will probably give you a deadline date then, but at the minute there isn't. So that's that one. Can you talk about landscape actions versus NPI? So the landscape actions are a larger scale actions that will be the likes of rhododendron removal, larger scale works on commonages or water quality issues like peat plugs or something like that that need more input from the CP team, or might need specialist input as well that we'll bring in. So they won't be available until next spring. The department have focused on getting the NPIs up and running for you guys first. So it'll be the CP teams that will be putting in the landscape actions. So if you have farmers who are looking for rhododendron removal, etc., when they're coming into you now for their NPI list, maybe just flag that with us or keep a note of it, or you can send them on their details on to us and we can follow up with them next spring when that's available. So hopefully that answers that. And how do you apply for invasive species landscape action? So hopefully that's answered that too. It won't be available until next spring, and it'll be through the CP team that you'll be doing that. Our callers on the list yet, they're going to be on the landscape actions list, not on the NPI list. So again, they'll be coming next spring. Will receipts be required for infrastructure NPIs, example barbed wire fencing? Maybe you can answer that, Liz.
Yeah, on the spec, it says to retain receipts for the duration of the project. So I think it's similar to other schemes, yeah.
Perfect. Most hedgerows are on margin, so having full access to both sides is very counterproductive. I don't know, Liz, if you want to comment on that, but I think it's just basically for management more than anything, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And it's kind of to target what was highlighted in the field boundary question, to target those areas.
Will geotagged photos need to be taken where farmers have NPI completed? The department haven't confirmed that yet. I think they're trying to stay away from geotagged photos because they have issues with that and with holding all of that data then. So I think they're going to try and stay away from that, but they haven't confirmed yet. If there may be some actions that do need geotagged photos, but they'll let you guys know if that's going to be the case. If we get permission from next door neighbour on hedges, will that suffice? That's something we can probably check with the department. I don't know if it will, but we can check that out. We'll make a note of that and maybe have a look at it, Liz. Is replacement of derelict wire fencing covered? So if there's
existing fencing, I think only.
Yeah. How is the 3,500 being split between NPIs and landscape where you don't use up the full allocation? So the way it was at the beginning was it was 1,500 for NPIs and 2,000 for landscape actions. But if there is no landscape actions identified, or if there won't the farmer isn't going to do any landscape actions, then you can use the full 3,500 for your NPIs as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Once permission making it possible to hire anyone to do work. That's just the way it had to be costed. That's the way the department had it costed, so that's how what we have to work with. What is maximum stone wall repair? 1,000 both sides plus 500.
Again, it's a repair, not maintenance. So if it was highlighted on the scorecard that it was repair, so it would have got poor in the scorecard. Then we'd look at that. Whether it's one side or two sides, I'd have to double check. Whether you get the 1,500 over, I'm not sure. I'll have to double check that.
Mary, can I jump in there? Can you just comment more on the stone walls, on the repair versus the maintenance? Because there's an awful lot of farmers in South Mayo where they've no water courses, that have scored poorly up to now, and the only alternative they might have is the stone walls. Just like, is that an option to put in the stone walls? I think there is a line there in the spec that where they are small farms or there's little scope for alternative works that they can go in, because in a lot of cases they have no other option, and maybe half a mile down the road the farmers are getting paid for the same stone walls in the general.
Yeah. Go on, Liz, sorry.
No, I'm just saying in the scorecard guidance, a poor stone wall was given 0 marks, so in need of maintenance was highlighted. A moderate was in good repair, and then a high was in good repair as well. So if it's highlighted on the scorecard, number one, and then obviously there's other factors, like you said, if they're not able, you know, they're looking at their site and they're having trouble spending money, but it's the right measure in the right place, basically. That's what we're trying to target. And we'd have to look at it on a case by case basis with the department as well. So can't say until we know the site, I suppose. I know that doesn't answer your question.
Where would the water courses results be available for purposes of NPI applications? I'm not sure what you mean there, Kevin. If you mean on the scorecard, if they've come down on the water quality question on the scorecard, you guys should have those scorecards on your GLAM system to be able to see.
Or else the OS map, so that should be on GLAMs automatically. There is a water line on GLAMs built in, so that's there.
Okay. Maybe if you want to clarify, Kevin, what you mean there. If you mean just the OSI marked water courses, if you mean the actual question on the scorecard, the result for that.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was just wondering in relation to riparian margins and stuff like that. I think he said that there would need to be an issue maybe highlighted with water courses before you could apply for the margins and the solar pumps.
Yeah, so you guys would have that information on the scorecards for each of your farmers on GLAM already. So that's where you would be getting that information from.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Mary.
No bother. What does the distance have to be between wader scrapes if a farmer is to put 2 in one parcel? Is that possible, is to put 2 wader scrapes in one parcel?
Yeah, I suppose if you're bringing a machine on site, if we could get, you know, as many as possible in, you know, if the farmer is willing to do it. I think there is on the step, I think there's a minimum or maximum. Sorry, now I think it might be 3 that might be mentioned. I'll just double check that. Wader scrape. 1 is the minimum and 5 is the maximum, and that's in the spec.
And is there a minimum distance between?
Oh, minimum distance between. So again, it depends on the site. It would totally depend on the site, and that we'd have to do. We'd take a look at that, and we'd have to probably talk to the digger man as well. And it's in some of these areas, it's you know, a mini digger may be more suitable than a larger machine, etc. So yeah, and in known breeding wader sites as well, it would be.
I suppose for some of those specialist ones that like those wader scrapes, if you wanted, we are available to kind of pop out to meet you guys before you submit the plan. If you want us to kind of go through it with you in the field, that's no problem. Just give us a shout and we're happy to kind of meet you on site to go through it for any of those difficult ones.
And in wet areas, you know, in a breeding wader site that there's already a wet area there, we wouldn't be putting another wader scrape there. You'd be moving it to one of the drier spots, you know, so it's working with what's existing on the site and to try to improve it.
How are we supposed to discuss NPI actions budget for farmers or commonagers when we don't know the commonage scores? I suppose just focusing on the private land for this year, Brian, next year will be a separate annual works plan application, and we will be out to the commonagers probably in January. We hope to kind of arrange all those meetings so the farmers will know their scores then. At the moment, our priority is getting those submissions so farmers get paid. So I hope that answers your question. But you have your whole budget to use this year, I would say, so you can use that on your private land, and then next year you have your budget again to focus on commonages, and we'll be helping out with that, and we'll be giving recommendations to the shareholders for actions that might be suitable for commonages, but obviously it'll be up to themselves whether they drive that forward or not. Don't know if there's any other questions. Yeah. There's very little notice for this webinar. The demographic of most farmers is 70, so maybe if more time was given to allow older farmers to prepare for using Zoom, you would have much wider demographic questions. Yeah, that's fair enough, Paul. I suppose we hadn't really planned on giving a webinar, but the department had asked at that last meeting in Ballina if we could meet you guys kind of separately in our local areas. We have met the majority of the farmers, as I said, through attending all of your events, your farmer training events. So we have met a lot of them. So we're hoping that kind of covers a lot of the questions that they might have. But yeah, that's fair enough. And we will try to give a lot more notice for the next one for sure. And this will be recorded and up online, and farmers can watch it. And if they have any questions or anything afterwards, we're happy to kind of take those. They can give us a shout. There's no hassle there. If only some of the farmers in CP, could the commonage be taken into account for NPI, if not in CP? If some of the farmers in CP, could the commonage be taken into account for NPI, if not in the CP? Kevin, maybe you can kind of give me a little bit more on that. So you're saying if only half of the farmers in the CP area, could the commonage...
Yeah, sorry, Mary. Yeah, obviously the commonage is not in CP as far as I'm aware. Some of the green parcels are. So like, if my NPI applications are relevant to my commonage, like, you know, is that taken into account? Is there a whole farm approach, or if the commonage is not in a CP, that rule me out for some actions? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so there is actions that you can use on non-CP land. So that would include, and we can, when we're doing up plans for the landscape actions, we can take some of the NPIs. They'll be available as landscape actions as well. So we can develop a kind of larger scale plan using the NPIs and what's available through landscape actions as well to develop something for the commonage too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay. Do we have to provide receipts for work done, such as personal purchase of materials? Yeah, I think some of the actions will require the farmers to keep receipts for the 5 years of the scheme, but that they should be in the specifications that is listed as part of the spec for each of the actions. Any other questions? Yeah, so the specification has been online for the past couple of weeks. It's on the department website. It is in draft form yet. I believe the department are just finalising and checking some of the wording to make sure it makes sense. And they will notify you when it is the final draft. Nothing major is going to change, maybe just some of the wording to add clarity to some of the sections, but the overall document will stay fairly similar. So yeah, that specification is up online for the last couple of weeks. If you go onto the department website under acres, you should be able to pick it up there. I'll give it another minute in case anyone else has any questions.
And just to mention that we know the process doesn't look streamlined at the moment, and we are a little bit worried about you know, farmers becoming disengaged. That the CP teams are here to support, and I suppose from outlining the local action plan, to explain why some of these are so complicated, you know, such as breeding wader scrapes, or whether it's you know, hen harrier roost sites, or corncrake areas. So because it's you know, designated areas, that the actions allowed in these areas are so restricted. So just to explain that.
So there's just one more question there. Sorry, two more questions. Is the budget for year one 3,500, or can go greater than this and less than the 17,500? In case certain actions aren't approved. So yeah, you will see on page 10 of the specification, there is the list of actions, the cost of them, and then there's the maximum payment per NPI annual works plan. So there's a limit on the amount per action that you can apply for in 1 year. And then there's also a limit on some of the actions that you can apply for over the 5 years. But other than that, yes, you can apply for more than 3,500. And if we feel that there is a need for it, then we can approve it. You'll just be bringing some of your budget forward, so there's no problem there. So the deadline for NPI will be the same as Acres Tranche 2. Won't be time to discuss these unless you extend till next year. You're not issuing approvals till next year anyway. I can't answer that, Patricia. I don't know when the deadline for NPI is going to be. The last time the department spoke about it, they said most likely the first or second week in December. The issue with extending that out until next year means that it then delays us screening, because our screening is going to take a bit of time as well to get through them all, and we have to send those back to the department, and then they have to do their internal checks and then they issue to them to the farmer. So I suppose the thing with it is the budget isn't lost for this year if the farmers don't apply this year. That 3,500 is still there for next year, and there may be more time then to discuss with farmers next year. So I don't know, maybe prioritising the farmers that have major issues that want to get stuff done early would be the way to go. But I can't say we have no kind of say on the deadline. It's all dependent on the department's IT system and their work deadlines. So we'll put it to them, but like I said, we can only say what we've been told. Fencing can only be applied for on weeder areas or areas with geese and swans. Is that for any fencing, or so the fencing action itself, like any of the fencing, it can be applied for where there's an existing boundary in disrepair or any issues like that, not just on weeder areas or areas with geese and swans. Will interim payments come for NPIs mid next year? Again, Clear Department haven't said when they plan on paying NPIs out. So I can't answer that. They're setting up their system at the minute. Hopefully we'll try and get a bit of clarity on that for you guys.
I'll just come in there on the fencing question. It's just in the specs, it says this action is not appropriate other than for the reinforcement of existing boundaries on wader or areas utilised by geese and migratory swans.
Which fencing one is that, Claire?
The fencing, the sheep wire. I think it says it on all of them. Yeah, it says it on the permanent electric as well. And the barbed wire, so it's all the fencing.
Okay, we'll have a look at that, because it should be as well on any areas where there's boundary issues. So you see on the fencing, permanent electric, new post and wire fencing is restricted to existing field boundaries. It can be selected on fields that have a scorecard submitted and is available on any scorecard.
But then when you read the last line, it's just a bit kind of contradicting, if you get where I'm coming from.
Oh, I see that, yeah. I think, did we flag that, Liz, as an issue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the spec is in draft at the moment, so the department had asked all the CP teams and even yourselves if there's any issues that needed clarification. So that's why it's still in draft. So I think we've highlighted that already with them, Mary.
So the fencing can be used for any boundaries that are in disrepair.
So I don't know whether they'll let us over the
Okay.
line. We've asked them that question, and we've put it to them. So whatever they come back with, yeah.
Perfect, no bother, thank you.
Okay, perfect. That seems to be all of the questions that have come in at the minute. So unless anyone wants to pop a quick question in or anything, and don't forget the WhatsApp group is there as well to support you guys, so don't be afraid to use that as a resource too for any of these questions. We'll note the ones with deadlines and the payments for NPIs, and we'll put them to the department, and as soon as we get any clarification on it, we will let you guys know as well what the story is with that. So unless there's anything else pressing, anyone else to ask, we might just leave it there. thank you for attending and for all of your questions. We appreciate your interaction with us. We do appreciate your engagement and you kind of keeping us invited to all of the courses and everything. We're really delighted to get the opportunity to engage with yourselves and with the farmers. So like I said, that's what we're here for. So make sure you do keep engaging with us, and any questions or queries, do let us know. So yeah, guys, unless there's anything else,